What's going on, everyone? We hope you had a nice, relaxing weekend as we have a lot to cover for this week in the stock market. On Friday, around 87% of stocks in the S&P 500 closed up in the green. And looking at the market right now, the S&P 500 is less than 0.5% away from its all-time high. And this is happening as we are heading into the month of September, which has historically been by far the worst month for the stock market over the past 75 years. On top of that, we have a couple exciting earnings and economic events on the schedule for this week, and we have some stocks starting to move in some pretty exciting ways. So make sure to stick with us all the way until the end. We're going to cover everything you have to know about the stock market for this week and some, I guess we'll say, crucial stocks to keep on your radar. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, the market on Friday did pretty well overall. You know, the majority of the S&P was in the green, 87%. That's really good to see. And the S&P was almost up 1% on the day, which is pretty good, you know. And whenever we look at the chop zone from last week, the SPY didn't really break the chop zone too much. It actually tried to on Friday, right around market close, but it wasn't really able to get that good momentum up through that key level. So the key level is really 564, and you can see right here how important this channel has been with the SPY. And Mike, I thought that last week we were definitely going to get out of this channel, especially considering that Nvidia reported earnings. But as we can see, the earnings kind of went flat, right? We're not really seeing any crazy price action from those. So I would love to see the market, though, to finally get up and out of this range and break out to a new all-time high this week. It's very close. Essentially, the all-time high is right around 565. It's actually just slightly higher than 565, but that whole dollar level will definitely be the main spot I'm watching.
Yeah, and when you look at SPY, and especially when you zoom out, you can see just how close the market actually is to making a brand new high. And again, this is coming at a time that, historically speaking, isn't the strongest part of the year for the market. So looking at some historical data, we could see that the month of September is pretty brutal, whether you're looking at it just in terms of election years, which is the dark blue line all the way on the right, or even if you look at it in the sense of the past 10 years or 20 years, or even since 1950. The month of September is pretty rough, so understand that going into this month, we have a lot of, I guess you could say, bearish seasonality fighting against the market here, and that does affect sentiment, because if everyone knows September usually isn't the strongest part of the year for the market, people are going to be a lot more hesitant to be extremely bullish, and they might even try out some short positions and short leading strategies more. So just understand the historical data we have coming into this time, and also understand that just because September is historically bearish doesn't necessarily mean that every single September is bearish. For example, if SPY rips past resistance now and really starts to gain some positive, strong, bullish momentum, that can be something that, defies historical averages.
Yeah, it definitely could. But, as of right now, of course, that's going to be the big worry that's in everybody's minds. And everybody's probably like, hey, what can we do if the SPY does end up hitting resistance and it doesn't break out, right? I wonder, if it starts turning over, I'm sure a lot of traders out there are already going to say, oh, well, right away, I'm going to buy puts, right? Obviously, that's one of the best things to do if the market did turn over. But nonetheless, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on out there when that happens as well. We're going to be looking at other key tech stocks still, like Nvidia from their earnings, which has a pretty big support around 115 coming up as well. And there's a lot of these key stocks like Microsoft and Apple that are fairly close to highs still, right? Some have pulled back a little bit, but if we start and we just go through all the bigger tech stocks like Apple and etc., they're still fairly close to that high. So it's going to be a big next couple weeks, Mike, to see if we can finally get up and through this range and break out or not. I know that this year and last year have been pretty good, obviously, for the movement in the market, right? If we go to SPY, we go to the daily chart and we zoom out, it's some of the best few years in the market, right? Whenever you start to see that type of growth. But of course, just be a little careful up here at the high. And, we're not trying to be doom and gloom. We try to say that a lot. It's just one of those situations that traders definitely need to be careful of and note this down for the next couple weeks.
Yep, and this is why we show these historical statistic charts ahead of time so people could be aware and have all of the important information that they need, heading into important months like this one. But one thing that is very exciting is if we shift over to the VIX seasonality chart, we could see that we're heading into the time of the year, you could say the start of September, where VIX truly starts to, I guess you could say, rise, right? And you can see that, from the start of September to, I guess you could say, about like the middle of October, maybe getting into November, there's a lot of strong inflows into the VIX and a lot of increases in volatility across the board. What makes this so exciting is because whether we see a rejection with SPY at the top right here and then a pullback lower, or let's say we see a full-fledged breakout, when you have a VIX that is actively increasing, or at least it historically tends to, that means that the way in which the market will move will be momentum-filled and powerful and actually present good opportunities, because the thing that I guess no one wants to see is for the market to just sit there, chop around, and do nothing. And that is a key risk, especially when, you're close to major pivotal points, just like the SPY is right now, so close to its all-time high. So I guess the main exciting thing is that regardless of which direction the market ends up playing out in, we should expect some good momentum-driven moves, which is ultimately what will bring upon good opportunities in both directions.
Yeah, I really love looking at the VIX seasonality. Now, of course, whenever you have September historically being a pretty bad market, I'm really not surprised that VIX is, pops up during this time of the year, right? But whenever I'm looking at VIX, and if like, let's say we do start to see VIX start to pop up again, that'll be amazing. And of course, I think the best case scenario would be obviously SPY rejecting and then VIX starting to pop up a bit. But obviously, if we go to the VIX chart, VIX has been on one of the craziest, I would say, what would we call this, Mike? One of the quickest decelerations of all time, like one of the quickest pullbacks ever out of VIX. I thought that was one of the craziest stats over the past month, is that, VIX popped up as much as it did, which was awesome to see, but the way in which it pulled back was pretty significant as well. I mean, we're all the way pretty much back to the main support, $12 to $13 again. So it's getting low, but at the same time, I'm a little bit worried that the SPY will start to pull back and it'll cause a bit more of a pop with that VIX. Hopefully, we see a VIX that pops off, right? If we start to see VIX continue to stay low like this, it's going to be a pretty boring next couple months. And I know you mentioned that the market could get a little choppy, and man, the past couple weeks have been pretty choppy too. I will say this, if you guys have had a little trouble trading over the past couple weeks, obviously it's been a lot different of a market here than what we've seen all year, where we've seen a lot of great movement. Throughout this year, it's been pretty rare to see a time on the SPY where it goes this flat on the daily chart.
Yep, and speaking of, I guess you could just say, big moves and things like that, we do have a couple exciting stocks on this week's earnings lineup as well. So how's that looking?
Yeah, we have quite a bit, actually. So on Tuesday, before open, we're kicking things off with Momo. I don't think that you could have a better name for a stock, but nonetheless, I'm just kidding, guys. I've actually never even heard of Momo. But in after hours Tuesday, Zscaler, GitHub, and Asana will report. It's not going to be the biggest week ever, but on Wednesday, we have DKS, Dollar Tree, Hormel, AI reports in after hours Wednesday, ChargePoint as well. Then Thursday, we have some pretty popular stocks here. Neo reports in pre-market, and then in after hours we have Broadcom or AVGO reporting as well. So Thursday is going to be a pretty big day, Mike. I would say out of everything this week, being serious about it, my favorite report's probably going to be Neo, because I'm very interested in what Neo does in the China sector, obviously, and I want to see some good growth out of them. If you go to the Neo chart, especially a daily, it's not the best, right? But they are on support, and if the earnings end up being pretty good, we could see a decent pop out of them.
No doubt. And another one that I think will be worth watching closely is AVGO on Thursday after close. Broadcom is another big stock in the semiconductor slash chip area of the market. And as we all know, this has been one of the most important areas of the market over the past couple of years. So definitely let's keep a close eye on both of these stocks as the earnings week unfolds. There should be some pretty good movement with both of them. But even in terms of the economic calendar this week, Tom, there are a handful of exciting events there too.
Yeah, we do. At 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, we have the ISM Manufacturing PMI coming out. That'll be pretty big. And then on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the JOLTS job openings will be releasing. And then Thursday, ISM Services PMI comes out at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So honestly, Mike, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, be ready at 10 a.m. It looks like that's going to be the main time. And then Friday, there are some non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. But I know that like the JOLTS and a lot of these job numbers are highly on watch by the feds right now and by traders in general because of how they impact rates and what the Federal Reserve will do.
There we go. So definitely keep a close eye on these events for the week. But Tom, what are the major levels to keep on watch for SPY for tomorrow and the week?
Yeah, so guys, first off, let me know in the comments how you like the SPY chart. I cleaned it up a little bit. You know, it was becoming a little bit, we'll say, too crowded, right? To say it in a nice way. There were way too many lines on the SPY. So I'm really looking at the main channel here from the past couple weeks. And right now, the SPY is sitting right at the top end of this channel. Pretty big resistance around 564. The all-time high is pretty much right around 565. So what I'm really looking for this week is a good break of 564 and then a break of 565 to the upside where the SPY will start to run to new all-time highs. If that happens, maybe target 570 to the upside. That'll be a nice whole dollar level once we do actually break out of said high. But in the short term, I'm also watching major support down around 557. There was a lot of bounces this week right at that area, as well as 555. That'll be the next one coming up underneath there. But that's pretty much what I'm watching for this week, Mike. There is like 560, which is pretty significant right in the middle of the range where we've seen a lot of price action hits around there as well. But at the end of the day, we really need to see a good breakout of this range.
Sounds great. Well, good stuff there, and let's jump right into some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is Intel, and it is to the upside. So this stock had a really good day on Friday as the stock popped up just under 10%, and they actually had some pretty good news to go alongside with this. Basically, Intel is a stock that, and just a company that has been kind of in panic mode over these past couple of years, and on Friday, news basically came out to announce that they're trying to get their stuff together. Like, seriously, they're just trying to figure out some good strategic options that they can make right now. They're considering offloading their foundry business, but basically they're just trying to get their stuff together, and considering their stock is in complete panic mode right now, and it's at one of the lowest points it has been at in decades, the market took this news in an optimistic way. Looking at Intel right now, again, they're at such a historically low point where any change in sentiment can have a really good impact on the stock. The stock was up just under 10% on Friday, and they do have like just an enormous gap on the chart between like $29 and like $22. So there's like a big gap there. Assuming the stock can truly gain momentum, it could have a shot at filling that gap. But basically, I'm just looking at Intel in the short term, mainly as a stock representing a shift in sentiment. The stock is so oversold, and this recent news is starting to, I guess you could say, shift the short-term sentiment into like more of like a bullish way.
Yeah, and you know, I've personally been keeping Intel on the radar since they started to form a bit of a base down here. I've been watching them close. I really do like that gap on the chart. That's interesting there too. And one big thing is that, you know, if they're going to be trying to do this with Pat Gelsinger and obviously with all the news, Mike, wouldn't you say that maybe some shorts are starting to cover here? And I would say, you know, like let's say I was shorting Intel and I'm up as much as I am now, like over the past few years, how they've been falling so much. I would definitely look to take profits here, especially with them trying to shake things up a little bit in the short term. I would probably try to get out down here around the bottom. Wouldn't you say shorts covering are probably a pretty big deal too?
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, Tom, when you have the stock fall from the heavens, like even when we look at it just over like the past couple of years, just from like November and December of 2023 until now, the stock is down by almost 60%. And that's a big move, especially for a company like Intel. And the further you zoom out, the worse it gets, really just makes it that much more enticing for shorts to finally take profits and cover.
Yeah, definitely. And one funny thing is that I actually know, because I've researched this one quite a bit, they've never even broke their high from the dot-com bubble, which, can go to show how big sometimes these bubbles can burst. And obviously, of course, I'm not going to get into that. We're talking about Intel for a short-term play, though. And I think for the short term, it definitely does have a lot of good momentum back up. And with my first play, I'm actually looking at Intel's competitor, or I guess in the same space anyways, NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a pretty major support around 115 coming up, and they still never had the greatest reaction to their earnings. And even on Friday, they were green 1.51%, but you can tell on the chart that's really nothing for how they were moving with earnings the past couple days. So my main thing is I'm really watching for a big move, either up and out of like where it's stuck here with earnings, or down and under the support. The big support is 115, and if we go look at that on the Bookmap, I'll show you the significance of 115 here, because look at all these nice like buyers stacked up at like 115, 116, 117. Once you start to get under 115, it starts to get a little bit more minimal, right? You're at 114, 113, there's not near as many shares stacked as like 117 and 116, for example. Now, that could change as the price gets closer to that, but I'm really watching 115. If it breaks down, then I'll be watching for 110 after that, which is the next significant support on the Bookmap. If we do end up breaking out to the upside, I'll be targeting like 125 past 120, but overall, I'm really worried about that 115 support.
There we go. All right, it's great to see these levels on Bookmap, just like you showed, because there are a couple key points with this one going forward. So great stuff with NVIDIA. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Coinbase, and it is still to the downside. We've been talking about this stock quite a bit over the past couple of weeks, and Coinbase has continued to fade lower. Coinbase has been very consistently bearish, especially intraday over the past week or so. Every time it tries to run up, it gets rejected and just continues to put more pressure on its recent lows. I would love to see this stock retest the $170 support area, and I don't think it's all that out of the question for this to happen this week. Basically, looking at Coinbase, as long as it can continue to put pressure on its recent lows, I really like the reward to risk skew by playing this one in a bearish way. So this one is definitely on my radar.
Yeah, it would be awesome to see this one start to break like 180. That would be pretty awesome in the short term. I know Coinbase has been continuing to, fall down, right? It's been kind of bad to see for a lot of the crypto players out there. I know it's not something that a lot of people, they obviously don't want to see their stock tanking like this, but for these short-term opportunities, they have been amazing, guys. So definitely keep it on the radar. With my next play, I'm looking at Microsoft to the upside, actually. I love the way how Microsoft held pretty close to its high of day Friday, and it closed right around that level. If I end up seeing a good rip above 418, I'll be looking at this one back to the upside. And overall, I'm looking for this one to move up with the overall market if we see that break, right? Like if we wake up tomorrow morning and the SPY's rejecting off of 564 and it's gapping back down to the bottom of the range again, then obviously be a little careful with Microsoft to the upside. But if the market's ripping and we see Microsoft start to break 418, definitely keep it on the radar.
Sounds good. All right, well, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Tesla to the upside.
Yeah, TSLA had a pretty good day Friday in their own right, and they're right around key resistance at 215. So if they're able to break above that, then keep watching them up.
All right, with the next one, we have DAL also to the upside.
Yeah, the airlines were killing it last week too. If Delta can get above 4270, just above that high of day at the end of the day Friday, then watch them up.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Shopify for both directions.
Yeah, Shopify was pretty crazy last week as well. Started to consolidate a little bit. If they're able to break this little resistance around 74.40, then watch them back to the upside. Now, if they end up falling back under 73 even, then watch them back down.
All right, so we have the downside level for a potential move lower. We have the upside level for a potential move higher. That's for Shopify. Don't forget about the upside levels with DAL and TSLA for potential momentum plays. Either way, these three stocks, Tesla, Delta Airlines, and Shopify, are all on watch for potential momentum plays if and only if they break through the levels Tom listed. The stronger and more consistent they move, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels listed, then do not force the trades. But besides that, we are all clear for today's $499,000 big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol KALV. So this is a very interesting big money trade where the big money put, in this case, just under $500,000 into the $12.50 strike call options that expire on October 18th of 2024. Looking at this stock more specifically, it is a biotechnology stock, and this one was especially interesting because the big money trade was filled very, very close to the low of day on Friday, and on top of that, these call options are already in the money, and they have some time to them, and when you are, I guess you could just say, trading a very volatile and crazy company like a biotechnology stock, not only do these stocks move a lot based off of, FDA approval news and just other updates relative or related to their treatments, but they also are, I guess you could say, very prone to insider information, if that makes sense. So as we look at KALV, this is a very unusual big money trade where there aren't too many reasons to see flows like this one in the options market, especially considering that the options chains for this stock aren't anywhere as liquid as, let's say, your average, you could just say liquidly traded stock, if that makes sense. So with all of this information being said, seeing options activity like this one especially stands out, and that's why I think this trade is very interesting. I really like the reward to risk with a setup like this one, but also understand that it is naturally much more volatile and crazy compared to other big money trades due to the nature of, I guess you could say, the industry of this company. Anytime you're dealing with biotechnology stocks, things get extra volatile, which is a good thing and a bad thing, as long as you're willing to tolerate the higher variance.
Yeah, that's a good point because, look at some of the movement with KALV over the past, couple of years. Some of these, some of the ways in which, it would seem like it's flat on the chart, right? Because there's not, a lot of movement going on overall. But, look at right here, just, the variance in this stock. We're talking, 3 great green days, 1 huge red day, which probably wiped out a lot of buyers there, and then tons of consolidation moves before ending up falling lower, right? The main point is that this stock is pretty volatile. It's going to move quite a bit. So just be willing to maybe hold it a little bit longer than normal. And of course, if you guys ever want to know, hey, is the big money still in this play or anything like that, you can head into Discord and ask us. We'll always let you guys know for sure.
Absolutely. So keep a close eye on this one going forward. There's definitely some interesting big money buying with this one on Friday. But as we look at everything, we're set for a pretty exciting next couple of weeks. We're getting closer and closer to the craziness of this year's elections. At the same time, the market is so close to all-time highs. We're heading into one of the worst month of the past 75 years by far, and a lot of other stocks just moving in volatile and crazy ways. So it should be pretty exciting next couple weeks. If you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out the first link in the description and the comments down below to get in on the StockedUp trading floor. We still have coupon code 100K active. We did a 100K I guess you could say, surprise sale with the trading floor, as the YouTube channel just cracked 100K subscribers. So if you want in, now's the time. You save quite a bit with the yearly plan. And Mr. Pants actually had some great words to say on Friday. They said, started following Stocked Up on YouTube a few months back, bought the 1 year on sale for premium, small account trading below 10 grand, and this is my past week. All thanks to this channel and SM Bot. So awesome job there, and keep up the great work going forward. But it was also a pretty exciting week for all of the bots last week as well. So basically, if you guys are into short-term trading, you get full access to all of our bots, live events. You could chat with Town and myself all day long, access the big money trades in the same day that the trades are made before the market closes, and basically get everything you could possibly need for short-term trading. Again, it'll be that first link in the description and the comments down below. But besides that, we're pretty excited for a nice opportunity-filled week. Tom, do you have any closing thoughts before we close out of today's episode?
Oh, please, market gods, please let us get out of this range. I don't want to see any more chop within this range with the SPY. You know, I'll be real with you. I was kind of looking for some chop after the first couple days. I was like, okay, we're probably going to have some trouble breaking out here, but I didn't realize that NVIDIA, that event, combined with some of the economic stuff last week, couldn't get us through. So hopefully this week we see a nice, clear direction get picked. If not, of course, try to adapt in the short term. But it's about time we break this range. Come on, let's bring on the all-time highs. Let me know in the comments if you think those highs will break or not.
Let's go. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. If you're new here, consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's have a great week in the markets.